Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and Justin Bieber has a brand new album. It's called Justice, more on that album title later, and it's a very quick follow-up to last year's Changes. But after the reception to that thing, I can't blame him for wanting to shake up expectations by delivering something a bit more in his wheelhouse. Even on an objective scale, Changes was a snooze fest. Bieber's attempt at being a serious R&B artist didn't pan out the way he expected, and I'm convinced Yummy is responsible for the hellhole that was 2020. You can't just drop that off on the third day of the year and expect life to move along swimmingly. I joke, but it was a bad album, one of the worst of the year in my eyes. I set it up like this because I wanted to show you just how low my expectations were going into Justice. He's got the bar lying down in the sand, so basically anything could cross it, but I'm pleasantly surprised at the fact that he didn't just do the bare minimum. This is a bar-raising affair that's consistently pop-friendly, engaging, and totally fine most of the runtime, despite some obvious potholes in the writing. Should we go ahead and talk about that album title before I start reviewing the music? I think we have to. This isn't affecting the overall score or anything. I can't help but cringe at the way Bieber marketed this. It's called Justice, right? A play on Justin, his name which also happens to mean justice.
Who is Justice Bieber?
Come on, you know that was a perfect setup, right? When else am I gonna get to use that? I demand a high five in the form of a like button smash from all of my fellow Office devotees out there. Okay, serious face for a moment. I really don't like the fact that he seems to use the title Justice as a way to sell the album. The past year has sparked a justice revolution from Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, and the continued support of the Me Too movement riding high in the mind of the general public. So what does Justin do to put his spin or take on it? He calls his album Justice, uses 2 Martin Luther King Jr. samples, and that's literally it. I just think it's really dumb to name your album that, to tease it like, oh, there's a lot of people out there experiencing injustices, and I kind of want to approach that angle, and then not a single song or lyric even is directed at anything other than your personal life. It makes no sense, but whatever. Rant over. For starters, let me say that I am so glad he switched from seemingly only tapping Pooh Bear for writing and production so that new faces could join in. John Bellion, Andrew Watt, The Monsters and the Strangers, even Skrillex getting back in the mix. It's a mishmash of A-list credits, and it shows in just how sonically pleasing this album is to hear. Justin delivering unashamedly pop smashes is something he's been denying himself for years in the name of, artistry, it felt like. But the ironic thing is that he sounds way better over electropop cadences with flurries of synth, guitar, and organic bass pounding the mix to a pretty heavenly degree. Actually, I'll just go ahead and lay it on the line. The music is absolutely what's keeping me attached at the hip. The collaborators prove why they're so in demand by cooking up a pure batch of musical meth that Heisenberg himself would approve.
You're goddamn right.
Justice is an album that starts out strong, buckles a bit in the middle, steadily rebounds after like the crest of a wave, only to run out of steam by the time it's all over. Granted, there's not a single song that even comes close to Change's level of cringe. It's just that this is a mainstream pop record, and the lyrical cliches about love or else being there for someone gets really old when you're 10, 12, 16 songs deep. Virtually everything we hear is about those topics. It's not quite I love my wife Chance the Rapper levels of dead horse beating, but clearly Justin made up for that by giving Chance a verse on Holy. That was one of the pre-release singles, and a lot of people seemed torn on it, myself included. I heard it a few times before the album, and I couldn't get the run into the altar like a track star out of my head, so I had to leave it alone until I heard the full album. Upon further inspection, not a bad song. The gospel affectation suits Bieber's newfound love of religion pretty well, but the lyrics are gimmicky, especially that "on God" shout out like cringe, man, why? But it's nothing compared to Chance's tacky-ass verse that sounds like a helicopter free-falling from the sky. Somehow, the song doesn't totally implode after that, but it's on thin ice, leading me to wonder why some of these other bangers I'm about to mention weren't released as singles. No, I don't hate every single from the album, but part of that might be because of how many he flooded out there before Justice even dropped. Anyone was heartfelt enough, the mellow instrumental slowly rises up in triumphant fashion, and even though it feels a bit like background music you'd hear at the mall, it's on the better side of that fence for sure. Hold On was even better, balancing a reverb-heavy guitar loop with a moody production twist for Justin's vocals that has him sounding a bit lower in the mix, but in a way that really complements the song. There's a lot of themes of the singer's past and redemption at stake throughout the journey, and this is one of the focal points where he touches on mistakes that hurt him. Part of me wishes he'd go into more detail with these struggles, with I'll Show You from Purpose being the best example I can think of, but at the same time, I can understand the lyrical limitations of crafting a pop smash. Did somebody say Purpose? Oh yeah, I did. There's gonna be a lot of people comparing Justice to that one, and I get why. Similar audiences are being targeted, and they're his two best albums, but I wanted to use this as a convenient segue to ask you guys if you'd be interested in seeing an I Got It Wrong review for Purpose. That came out at a time when it was still the norm to punch down on Bieber for really no reason. Even though I did praise a decent amount of the album, I just feel like I didn't do it, well, I didn't do it the name of the current album title. Use the like button as a voting tool. If this video gets to 1,500 likes, I'll make it happen. I Got It Wrong, Justin Bieber's Purpose Edition. Getting back to this album, let me race through some of the pop smashes you need to hear. Die For You with Dominic Fike sounds like Bieber's take on a Bruno Mars song with flashes of 80s synth pop magic. Really great stuff. He digs his heels in even further on the groovy as hell Deserve You, the second song on the LP, and the exact moment in time when I knew I was gonna like this album way more than I expected to. The bridge locks in beautifully. It's one of these songs where everything from the rattling drums, the bass tempo, and Justin's voice, it all falls into place like it was fate. Off My Face and Too Much show off the moodier elements at play, and the latter of those is fine. It's a solid introduction to Justice. It's just that Off My Face works a lot better given its acoustic expressive nature. Sure, it sounds done before, but it didn't really strip away any enjoyment. It's a nice little moment of zen in a room full of larger than life bangers. That MLK Interlude was certainly something. Bold of Justin to just throw that one on there because the speech ends with the word justice and then just goes right back into the songs that literally have nothing to do with justice at all, but apparently it does have the blessing of King's family, so I'll leave well enough alone. Everyone's gonna skip that track anyways. I can see your finger hitting the skip button through the screen and y'all know it, but fine. The Kid Laroi is featured on Unstable, serving as yet another reminder of why is this guy so famous again? Don't get it at all. He's not talented. He sounds like a generic ripoff of several other artists. So Justin, was Post Malone busy this time around? Because Laroi sounds like a bad Posty impersonator with no personality. His backing ad-libs are shit and actively distract from Justin, who sort of has a good thing going here. I don't know, I don't entirely hate it, mainly just the featured guest who got way too much of the spotlight. Ghost is the definition of mid-tier, floating into the purgatory of forgotten pop album deep cuts. The watered-down guitars, innocuous lyrics about missing someone, it's safe in every way and doesn't rattle any cages. Thank God he didn't call it what he sings on the song, cause we would've had a riot on our hands had he named it The Ghost of You, which we all know is a trademark property of the Department of My Chemical Romance. That triggers a slew of skippables from Ghost until the end of the album, and yes, that does include Lonely. What the hell was he thinking with that hook? I'm so lonely. Dude, was that a yodeling Walmart kid Mason Ramsey feature, or was that you? You ruined what could have been a nice somber reflection on your life and career with that chorus. I laugh every time I hear it and I hate that because the verses are actually pretty damn strong. What that ending section of skippables doesn't include is two of the album's choice cuts that I somehow haven't even mentioned by name yet. Somebody lights up the fire with a smooth as fuck vocal show, a great pre-chorus to chorus drop, and a post-chorus electric guitar soiree? You're damn right that I'm swooning over this one. I'm also on board for the guest-heavy summer anthem Peaches that I can't wait to blast in warmer temperatures. This needs to be Bieber's next big hit. Giveon runs away with it. Check him out if you haven't already. A killer rising R&B star. He wraps the retro-tinged atmosphere around his finger and owns it with a breezy showing. The pianos bounce, the percussion claps joyously, and Bieber might sound a little silly on the hook as he contradicts virtually everything about the god-heavy lifestyle he's supposedly leading, but who the hell cares? This is good shit any way you spin it. Daniel Caesar's eccentric verse included. To wrap it up, this was a really solid pop bounce back from Bieber after a train wreck that didn't have to happen. Had Justin come back on this note after Purpose, no one would have batted an eye. Justice loads up more than enough jams to quench the pop fans' appetite and then some, so check this one out, it might actually surprise you. I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, remember to like the video and comment if you'd like to see an episode of I Got It Wrong for Purpose. You can watch my original review of that album over here, see my take on changes here, or follow all of my socials like Instagram and even my Twitch by hitting the second link down below. Support the channel on Patreon with the top one, or else there's a link on screen, and I'll be back soon for more on ARTV.